Good morning. Well, as is my normal routine, after I just spent some time with the Lord, I just want to share with you what I got from that particular morning, as is the case this morning. So, I've been reading in the Old Testament. I don't follow a reading plan. I've just been reading in 1 Samuel. And I love this tiny little sentence that I read this morning because it is so apt for where we are in 2020. So it's 1 Samuel, a chapter of 10. And I won't share all the history, but Israel, who's God's chosen people, they cried out for a king. And God wanted to be their king, right? But out of his kindness, he was going to use a king for their benefit. He said, listen, I've got this guy. And when it was time for the guy, their new king, to be revealed, he hid. So he had been appointed by God. He had been picked by the Samuel, who was the prophet, the judge of Israel at the time. And when it got time for him to be presented to all of Israel, he freaked and he hid. The exact wording says, Saul hid himself when it was time to be elevated as king. So when I read that this morning, I began to think about what my natural tendency is to do in a time like this. So what is the time like this? We thought COVID was this big, horrible medical disaster, but it sort of just opened up the door for all these other things, right? Things that have been brewing under the surface that need to have been addressed, but now it seems like it's chaos. It seems like everything is intense, right? At least it does for me. And my personality, I'm an introvert. I love to be around people. I love to meet people. I don't have a problem meeting people. But when I'm stressed and tired, or when I've had a high people day, I've got to be alone by myself and just recharge by myself. So much so that last year for my birthday, the only thing that I wanted for my birthday, this is a true introvert speaking, is I wanted to wake up in my house alone. I didn't want anybody in my house. So the sweet people who live with me, namely Chris and Libby, they left the house. So I woke up on my own to a quiet house. I stayed in my house till about 12:30 with not a soul in there, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So that's an introvert. But the negative part about the introvert is sometimes I just want to be alone a lot more when I'm stressed. And from about March on, my tendency is to be away, to escape, to retreat from all that seems to be a lot of chaos. And apparently Saul, this new king, was feeling the same thing. And I just felt this morning that now is not a time to retreat. So what does that look like if you are a believer in God? I believe it means we're in a war between good and evil, and we have an enemy who prowls around trying to devour and is devouring all sense of order and peace and harmony. And as Christians, we have secret weapons in our arsenal. First of all, we have a Father who loves us, and we need to know who he is. So let's do that by spending time with him, by reading who he is in his word, by talking to him, by praying, and not believing the lies of the enemy like, gee, we're powerless, we don't have any power. Just retreat because it's only going to get worse. Well, when I read my Bible, that's not what God says. He tells me not to have fear. He tells me to trust not what I see with my eyes, but to trust what I know who he is and what he's capable of and what I'm capable of because I'm his daughter, right? So I can make a difference because God lives in me. When I go to Walmart, I'm carrying God into Walmart. I know that sounds a little weird, but his spirit lives inside of me. And so when I go into Walmart, I can diffuse maybe unrest. I can diffuse with a smile or the very fact that my mere presence is there. Hostility. We as Christians can be on the lookout for what we can do. We've been elevated. This is a time to be elevated, right? So we can bring God into every situation we find ourselves in the workplace, in our homes, on social media. We don't have to give in to the fear. We don't have to give in to the doomsday conspiracy messages that are out there. We can bring our own message of hope and love and action, right? Because love most often requires action. How do I know that? John 3:16 says, God loved the world so much that he gave his son. So God's love produced action. My love should produce action. So I don't want to be Saul. I don't want to hide away. Yes, as an introvert, I do need moments to just let my mind wander and sit by myself and contemplate life. But I want to be on mission. I don't want to hide. I want to use this time as a platform to bring good and right and pure and honest things into the world, things that my Father is about. And we can do that. And if you know Jesus, every place you walk into, he's there. He's there with you. He's gone before you. And we can change atmospheres. So be prayerful about what that means for you. It may just mean smiling and being a positive influence. It may mean when you hear something horrible on the news or a city ordinance or whatever comes your way, you can chew on it a while, but then take the action to pray about it. Pray, God, would you soften the hearts of those leaders? God, would you intervene here? We are not powerless. So this is a time for us to be elevated and walk in the places that God has put us. So that's my musings today over coffee. Be blessed.